Hey guys, this is Jeff at Slavens Racing, and we just want to give you a quick review on my new 24 KTM 300 XC-W. You can see I just put 32 miles on it yesterday, just a quick ride. I don't fit on this bike very well, because I'm tall and I've got to change the ergonomics around a little bit so that I can ride it better. But it's totally badass. It's a very nice bike. It's definitely the best 300 KTM was ever built, in my opinion, for what I do. Everything about it is a big improvement over the previous model. Let's start with the motor. As I told you on the 300 XC, these motors rock. And what KTM did is exactly what I wanted them to do here. Of course, they didn't ask me, but they nailed it, and that is they made this more rideable than the XC. It's got a different cylinder on it. Supposedly the port timing is a little bit different. I have not confirmed that. I don't know that I'm going to take both of my bikes apart to confirm that. That's a lot of work for nothing. But whatever they've done here, the combination of probably different mapping in the ECU. I think the cylinder and head insert is a little different. They've got this longer, quieter muffler, which is a big plus over that shorty they had. All those things combined make this a very, very rideable engine. They cheaped out this year, and you'll notice that there's no map switch on the handlebar there. I don't like that. That's BS. But anyhow, so the way they come, they're in the high output mode. It would be nice to have the map switch to put them in the mellower mode for like a really slick day, a little wet day, whatever. But this motor is very user friendly. It's like I said, I'm not sure what all they've done here, but they've definitely made it a lot more user friendly. It's just like the perfect power band now. It's excellent. It's very easy to ride. The transmission ratios are good. I have not had a chance to compare those, the numbers on those compared to the XC, but for me, it's definitely a better transmission for what I do. And I'm going to qualify all those things. I'm not judging this bike by where you ride. I'm judging it by where I ride. And that's lots of rocks, roots here in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. And it's an excellent test ground. The Rockies have a little bit of everything to offer, so it's a great place for me to do my testing. All right, from there, my complaints on the XC were the chassis, the swing arm and the new frame. So if you haven't kept up with all the latest news, which I don't know why you would, these bikes have got an entirely new chassis, a new swing arm, new suspension front and rear, and then the new engine. And then new bodywork. So basically, it's an all-new bike. There's very little from the old bikes that transfers over. So my complaint on the XC chassis was that it was too stiff. And for the guys that are hardcore, super fast racers, probably not. For the motocross guys, probably not. They probably they need that stiffer chassis. For trail riding, this chassis is much better. And all right, I know some of you guys are going to throw in the comment, well, Jeff, the XC is a race bike. Yeah, I understand that. Wasn't born yesterday. But I'd say 70-80% of XCs never ever see a racetrack, never go to any kind of a race. They're trail bikes. Guys buy them all the time for trail bikes. Why? I don't know. They just like them. They like the transmission. Maybe they like the linkage. Who knows? That's up to them. So to throw that little snarky comment that it's a race bike and then you're judging it as a trail bike, well, that's not a fair comment. Because XCs are used for trails, period. I mean, tons of guys buy them for trail bikes. All right, back to this bike. So I didn't like that XC chassis. I thought they'd gone a little bit too far. It was difficult to get a setup that was comfortable for trail riding. Although I did accomplish that by putting on our Raven forks and the National Shock. But this bike is exactly what I wanted them to do on the chassis department, and that is they made it about halfway in between the TPI models, the 17 through 23 TPI chassis. They made it about halfway in between that and the XC, the 23-24 XC chassis. So it's not as stiff as the XC chassis. It's not as soft and wiggly as the old XC-W chassis. To me, they really corrected it and made it perfect. I mean, I didn't even get a block down the trail, and I noticed that the thing steered better. And as I went on, I noticed, the increased stability of this chassis. And that's really something that's hard to articulate, to really explain it without riding it. The bike just has a more stable feel everywhere, especially when you start pushing it. Now, that wiggle and wobble that XC-W's had in the past, this bike doesn't have. Yeah, the suspension could use a little help to make it better when you're pushing it. But this new suspension is number 3 on the list of things that they've done a great job of improving. This is, in the past, the fork was a open chamber, which is a very basic design, or it was a very basic design. I mean, there's definitely some complicated and high-tech open chamber setups out there, like our Lucky's and some other ones on the market. But this is a closed chamber, so well, I'm not going to spend my time right now to explain the difference between. But a closed chamber fork is a little more aggressive. But I don't mean rough riding when I say aggressive. I just mean it can handle speed better. Yeah, it's still good at the slower paces and the rocks and the roots, but when you're pushing it or you're going through a trail that's blown out with lots of whoops, it handles all that stuff better. It doesn't handle whoops like an XC does, but it handles it better, way better than this chassis combination handles it way better than W's have in the past. W's and EXCs, same models, depending on what country you're in. So the motor completely rocks. The chassis completely rocks. The suspension is a big improvement. I'm not going to say it rocks, although it is a big improvement over the past. I think a lot of guys are going to be happy with it, especially if you change the springs to match your weight. We already have the fork springs in stock. We have the shock springs in production. It's a new straight rate shock spring. In the past few years, they've been progressives. This new shock is also shorter, although I believe the spring length is not shorter. Don't quote me on that. But this combination of the new chassis, the new motor, the new suspension, they hit a home run on this one. I think this is the best out-of-the-box bike KTM has ever built. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Hell no. Doesn't mean it's a great bike. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun to ride. I rode it yesterday. I had a great time on it, even though I don't fit it very well. Like I mentioned, I've got to change the ergonomics around. I'm going to put on some Fastway Evo 4 foot pegs right away that move the pegs down a half an inch and back a half an inch. That just helps open up the ride compartment for me to where I'm more comfortable. I'm going to have to put some different triple clamps on it because, unfortunately, I don't care for this new top triple clamp because it only has 2 bar positions. It has position 1 and 2. Both of those are too close to the rider for a guy like me who has monkey arms. It comes in the 1 position. I already changed it to the number 2 position, but the combination of not having the bars far enough forward for me, the bars being too low for me, the seat being too low, foot pegs being too tall, it was not real comfortable for me to ride yesterday at speed. We're going to post a video probably at the same time that this one comes out of me riding the bike so you can hear how it runs, maybe get a little feel for how it performs. Let's see, where was I going with this here, guys? All right, so Let me just walk around, get my thoughts back together. I'm sorry, kind of rambling here, but late in the day I'm kind of tired, and I'm just doing the best I can. Back to the ergonomics. So for guys, big guys like me who have, you know, big feet, I'm a 13 foot. We also sell, you know, we sell a lot of 13 boots. It's surprising. We also sell 14s and 15s. But for any of you guys with big feet, it makes it a little bit tough to shift at times. It's not a real friendly position. And if you move the shift lever up, and then when you shift, it actually hits the chain. And, well, at least it did on the XC. Haven't tried it on this, I'm assuming that. But it hits the chain, so that doesn't work. I also ground a groove in the shift lever on my XC. It kind of fixed the problem. But the foot pegs I'm going to put on, like I said, are going to be down a little bit and back a little bit, and I've got that on my other bikes, and it really makes it much more comfortable for me to shift. I missed a couple of shifts yesterday when I was test riding it because of that, which is not a big deal. There are no other shift levers that are going to change that, so don't waste your time looking. If you're a big foot like me, then you're going to have to change the pegs. Right, guys, so overall, incredible bike. I've never said that about any box stock KTM in the past, so that should speak volumes. It's got all the new stuff like the XCs have it, the bodywork and new chain guide and all that kind of stuff, but I already mentioned that in a previous video, and you can find all that stuff on KTM's site, but what you guys really want to know is how it works, and it works very well for a box stock bike. Now I'm going to be, already talked to the guys at MX Tech today. They build the mule shocks for us, so we're going to get on that right away. This new shock mounts differently on the bottom. The Heim joint, rather than being in the swing arm, it's now in the lower piece of the shock there. So they're going to work that up real quick. It's also shorter. It's going to require different valving than we've used in the past in any of the PDS models. But over the next few weeks, they'll get me a shock. I'll start doing the testing. You know, they're in Illinois. They don't have the gnarly terrain that we have, so that's why I do all the testing, as well as some other guys. I'm not the only one. And then the forks, I'm going to put on Raven forks. I'm actually going to put a set of those on in the next day or two. Try that out. It's going to require a different setup for valving because of this new chassis. It's not going to be the same valving as what I have on my XC. All right, guys, I'll let you go here. Sorry, the guy that's out there that wants to start a channel to where you do a shot every time I say that I hate something on a KTM, he struck out on this one. And I'm all for it. I mean, I like a good shot once in a while, so I hope he gets that up and going. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look in the comments on the previous video on this new bike. You know, it's just a hoot. All right, guys, please like us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a shout out once in a while. We really appreciate it. Send in your pictures and your videos. We love seeing your bikes. We love seeing your videos. We quite often post those in our email blast. And we like to know what you're doing. And anytime you're in Colorado, please stop by our store. We have a beautiful KTM candy store. It's got more stuff than you can imagine for KTMs. And if you want to ride, I'm retired. I'm ready to ride. So come on out. That's all for now.